Yeah, let's get back to the show, all right? 2:21 in the afternoon. I am your host. This is the most frustrating issue is this letter to the editor by Andre McLeod. It's titled, Action May Be Legal But Wrong. Keep in mind, as I go through this letter, and as we address this letter, think about what Thomas Van Flein, legal counsel for the Palins, private legal counsel, that is, for the Palins, has said. Really what this boils down to, all these ethics complaints, or at least the vast majority of them that we've seen so far, really boil down to disagreements. That's right, disagreements. Miss Andre McLeod, be specific about it, believes that the actions of the governor are wrong in her mind. Okay? Well, you and I may come across different things in our lives we feel somebody's behaving wrongfully. Then make it illegal. And there's a difference. It doesn't make it unethical either. Now, you may disagree with them. You may have a different viewpoint. But that doesn't make the governor ethically challenged. That doesn't mean that she's breaking ethic laws. Ethics violations. So let's go through Miss Andre McLeod's letter here. It's such a shame that Palin and her publicly her funded staffers who supposedly work for Alaskans' interest, and the Department of Law keeps spinning these ethics complaints against the governor as a game of winners and losers and batting averages. Well, the governor, Miss McLeod, you file the ethics complaints. The Department of Law evaluates them. There's been a private investigator on these ethics complaints, and they've come back and said the governor has not broken any ethics violations. Nobody's battling about whether they're losers or winners. You're the one, Miss McLeod, that files the ethics complaints. What would you expect the governor to do? To sit back and say, you know what? That Andre McLeod's she's just a sharp young lady. Boy, she's right. I really agree with her. I've broken the ethics. I've violated the ethics statutes. That's not going to happen, Andre. You know, in your world, in your mind, Andre, I know that things work a little differently. We all know that about you. But when you go into a court of law, or you go into a Department of Law where they evaluate these things based on facts, everything doesn't mount up the way you see it, Miss McLeod. And that's why your ethics complaints have been tossed out. The governor's not sitting here trying to win or lose. She has an obligation and a right to defend herself. Let's go to the next paragraph, which I read before we went off the air, to the break. The fact is that all Alaskans, except the Palins, have lost when Alaskans who are fed up with the Palins' continued misconduct. See? Continued misconduct. Well, nothing's been substantiated through these investigations in the Department of Law and private investigators that have substantiated that the governor's done anything, that there's been any misconduct. Now, in Andre McLeod's eyes, yeah, there's been misconduct. Well, that's an interesting thought. In her eyes, in her opinion. Well, Miss McLeod, you don't control. You're not the judge and the jury. That's why we have a system, a process in which these complaints go through. Palin's continued misconduct resort to the only statutory avenue afforded to them to put this rogue governor in check, as she consistently violates the spirit of the ethics code to benefit herself personally with state staff, time, and property. Rogue governor, as she violates. These are all accusations. In her mind, in Andre McLeod's mind, see, You have to separate yourself from Andre McLeod's mind to the facts. Because the facts don't support, I'm sorry, Andre, they just don't support what's going on in your mind. Now, your mind is not connected, is not in parallel with the facts or the law. You can drum up anything you want, Miss McLeod. You can throw all the mud you want to at the governor. But until it's consistent, congruent with Alaska state law and the ethics code, you're out to lunch. That's all there is to it. I don't care what letter you write to the editor trying to justify that you have filed ethics complaints that have fallen flat on their face, and you're trying to somehow save yourself some sort of credibility. It's preposterous. She goes on, common sense tells you that Palin violates the ethics laws every time her interests come before Alaska's interest. Common sense. Again, we're back into Andre McLeod's mind again. That's where we're at. We're back into her world. You see, there's a different world for Andre McLeod. She thinks in a different zone than most of us think in. She thinks outside of the code, the ethics code. Alaskans have a protected claim under the Ethics Act to question the wrongdoing of Palin and other public officials. You're absolutely correct, Miss McLeod. That's about the only point you're right on. We do have a right. You and I have a right to question the governor's her actions. You have questioned them. You've questioned them several times. You and the Andre McLeod followers. The followers. And guess what? Each and every time you've fallen on your face. The claims are this. Remember what Thomas Van Flein said. It's a difference of opinion. In Andre McLeod's mind, the governor violated the ethics code. In the Department of Law and the private investigator's mind, Andre McLeod is wrong. The governor has acted appropriately. Thank you for letting me clear that up. We'll be right back.
You're just giving me material right now.
Have you ever asked for a job in the state of Alaska and been refused? Andre McLeod, have you ever asked for a job and been refused?
You know, I do like that he knows how to pronounce my name.